Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley here in Washington, D.C. Now, let's get back to the question of program. The prejudice seems to be widespread that demands and program and specific points, measures, that these impede your growth, that it slows down the growth of the movement. They say, oh, no, we don't want to burden ourselves with any baggage of demands, because that only means that certain people won't show up. We want to get as big as we can, then we'll have a Congress, and finally at the end we'll say what our demands are. Or we want to change the culture in the long run. Sorry, in the long run we're all dead. We're in a conjunctural period, in a very acute breakdown crisis. The entire world banking system is now on the brink. We had another top international banking honcho say we are on the brink of a cascading breakdown, bankruptcy of the entire world banking system. It's true. Don't be put into fool's paradise if the market goes up one day on the promise that there's going to be a European bailout. Demands, quite the contrary. Demands build the movement. The demand you need is student loan amnesty now paid for by a 1% Wall Street sales tax. And again, the nurses have done a wonderful job. They stand out really among these unions as really the best, most militant American union, because they have the transaction tax. Tax Wall Street. If you don't like Wall Street, don't complain, don't whine, hit them where it hurts. In the La Banza, tax them. Wall Street sales tax. Olbermann had to talk about it. Elliot Spitzer has to say he likes it. So right on for the nurses union. We have some confusion about this. Watson, writing over at InfoWars, says the bankers want the Tobin tax, the bankers want the transaction tax or Wall Street sales tax. Baloney, they do not. Let's look at the center of the banking world. That's called the City of London, and that's called Wall Street. They are ferocious enemies of any transfer tax, any Tobin tax, any Wall Street sales tax. They're fighting it tooth and nail. We have an article in UK Money Week that attacks the idea of the Tobin tax. It won't work. They've been screaming. Now, Obama has sent Geithner over to the European Union to say, don't you French and you Germans, don't you dare tax bankers to make them pay for the damage they're doing to society. Now, naturally, we don't want any bailouts. So we don't want this money to go for bailouts, because bailouts are, by definition, a rat hole. But we want that money. That goes in the public treasury to maintain our economic rights, our entitlements, our programs, health, education, welfare, pensions, programs for youth, and related issues. So that's the opposition to the Tobin tax, or the Wall Street sales tax, is the City of London parasitic banker predator position par excellence. So don't fall into that. Financial Times this week, City of London attacks transaction tax. Exactly. That's the heart of the matter. So don't be so libertarian that you find yourself on the same line as the City of London. That's where the libertarian stuff has got to yield. Now, the point of having demands is the media, Limbaugh, tries to portray the demonstrations as a swamp of hippies. So imagine working people. Again, their problems are, how do I get a job? How can I see a doctor? How can I pay my kid's tuition bill? How do I stave off a fraud closure? How do I deal with my credit card bills? Concrete stuff. Now, they're looking around for allies. Now, what are they going to see? A bunch of utopian hippies who are dreaming of a world of consensus debates where everything is decided in anarchist fashion with no government, according to the Gilder-Loose, pie-in-the-sky, anarchist utopian message? Well, sorry. That will get you nowhere. They're looking for a powerful new ally, a new social force in society that will fight for the things they need. Now, if you have demands, you can force the media to talk about them. Case in point, Olbermann, no paragon, is he? He went from working for Immelt of GE, now he works for Al Gore. Nevertheless, Olbermann thinks it's cool to have the tax Wall Street. Elliot Spitzer agrees. You can take it from there. That's more progress than has been made on the Wall Street sales tax in quite a while. You can force the media to talk about your issues, and if you do that enough, you can get Congress to put it through. Let's get some bills. And I'm not talking about a microscopic tax. I'm talking about the full Monty, the 1% transaction tax, Wall Street sales tax on everything, stocks, bonds, and above all, derivatives, over-the-counter derivatives, and exchange traded. That means indexes, futures, options, all of that, 1%. You have program trading, you have flash trading, you have high-frequency trading. Wonderful, 1% every time you do it. You make 1 million trades per second, 1% goes into the public till. You'll run out of money after the first 100 trades if the calculation works. Now, you look at Obama. Obama is damning this with faint praise. This was no ringing endorsement. This was not a fighting statement. This is what he did to Wisconsin. Damn them with faint praise in public, and the knife goes into their back behind the scenes. Remember, here in Washington, you learn very quickly, analysis commits you to nothing. And I'm talking now about the Occupy Wall Street Declaration that was read by Olbermann. It's the work of a couple of these. It's a tiny subcommittee. It's not clear to me whether this ever went through the entire General Assembly. But the Occupy Wall Street is not even an analysis. Now, let's assume it were a good analysis. One of the things you learn in Washington is an analysis commits you to nothing. As a matter of fact, an analysis is sometimes window dressing for horrible things. It's very, very common to find statements that are a good analysis that's going to be used to camouflage and sell some awful implementation points, some awful action points that are hiding behind a good analysis. Unfortunately, Occupy Wall Street doesn't even get to that point. What they put out, their declaration, read by Olbermann this week, it's not an analysis. It's really just a laundry list of complaints. Okay, a laundry list of complaints. Some of them are valid. Some of them are absolutely good. But some of them are kooky, flaky, off the charts. They reflect the preoccupations of rich elitists, God knows what. If you, they compared, when these two kids who wrote it appeared on Olbermann this week, they compared their document to the Declaration of Independence. And they said, well, we're a catalog of complaints, we're a cahier de doléances, and the Declaration of Independence is a catalog of complaints too, so we're in the great tradition. Sorry, guys, the Declaration of Independence had one big implementation point. We are declaring our independence, and we are going to wage war, if necessary, to defend that. You missed the main thing. It's not the implementation and the explanation. It's not the explanation that counts. It's the action point, the implementation. Then the Declaration of Independence had it. And how did it have it? And these guys have nothing. This is the tragedy. The whole Occupy Wall Street statement has not one demand, not one program point, nothing, zero. Now, if you look at them, you say, are you the same as Ron Paul? Oh, no, we're not. But what are you? Obama says, through his various minions, they're supporting me. Well, are you supporting Obama? Are you for him, against him? Can you take a stand on that? You also have to look around in the society, right? You have groups that are hurting. They're the majority. You have to show people that you are willing to fight for them, that you're willing to do something not just for yourself, because that's what every group wants, right, is me, me, me. You've got to show that you're willing to fight for them. If you're not Ron Paul, if you're not Koch, if you're not Soros, what are you? You've got to reach out to labor, to minorities. In particular, these two kids said, well, we went to Bedford-Stuyvesant, and they told us there was nothing in the demonstrations for them. That's quite right. The black minority gets nothing out of this. The Hispanic minority gets nothing out of this. What are you doing for minorities? How about farmers? How about declaring a 110% parity on agricultural production to save the U.S. family farm? How about women? How about old people? Do you have a line on Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security? How about students, above all? Do you have a position on the student loans? The student loan question is now creeping into the media narrative. It's peripheral, but it's there. Hammer on that. Push harder. Put them together. Wall Street sales tax pays for student loan amnesty. Back in a minute.